The moment she looked at me that night, I knew something was different. Her eyes didn't carry the usual storm, they carried something softer, something that pulled me in before I even understood it. I was halfway into my blanket, pretending to be asleep, when she quietly asked, "Is there space left in your bed?" I froze, not because of the question, but because of what it meant, what it could change. And before I could stop myself, the words slipped out. "What if you said you wanted to stay forever?" If I had known how much that night would change both of us, maybe I would have been more prepared. Or maybe I would have let it happen exactly the same way. She had been staying with me for a few days, just until she sorted things out with her apartment, or so she said. But even then, I knew it wasn't the leaking ceiling or the broken heater that kept bringing her back. It was the way she lingered in the kitchen a little longer when I made tea. The way she laughed quietly at my bad jokes as if she needed those moments more than she wanted to admit. The way she always seemed relieved when I said I'd be home early. That night, though, something in her had cracked open when she walked into my room. She wasn't carrying her usual shield of strength. She looked tired. Not physically, but the kind of tired that comes from holding yourself together for too long. I sat up, unsure what she needed from me, unsure what I could safely offer without hurting either of us. But all she did was stand there in the dim light and whisper the question that shook the walls I'd kept around my heart: "Is there space left in your bed?" I swallowed hard. Space? Yes. But for her? For what she meant to me? For the possibility of something deeper? That was the part that scared me. So instead of giving her a simple yes, I asked the question that had been sitting inside me for weeks: "What if you said you wanted to stay forever?" She didn't answer right away. She just stared at me as if I'd just given her permission to breathe. And then she did something she had never done before. She broke down. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet crumble, like someone who had been strong for everyone else and finally found a moment where she didn't have to be. She climbed into the bed slowly, as if she was afraid the whole moment might disappear if she moved too fast. And for the first time, she let herself fall asleep beside someone who wasn't going to let her face everything alone. In the days that followed, something shifted between us, something neither of us dared to name. She would wake up earlier than me and sit on the edge of the bed, watching the sun hit the walls as if she was trying to memorize it all. I started noticing how often she glanced at me when she thought I wasn't looking. She didn't realize that I noticed everything about her, even the things she tried to hide. There was one morning when she was unusually quiet, her shoulders tense as she tied her shoes. When I asked what was wrong, she gave me the short version of the truth. "My ex came by my place today," she said. "He said he wants me back." The words hit me harder than I expected. I didn't know much about him, but I knew one thing: whatever he gave her, it wasn't peace. She avoided my eyes, but I stepped closer anyway. "And what do you want?" She hesitated. "I don't know." I nodded, even though the answer stung. But the truth came out of her later that night when she returned, eyes red from tears she'd tried to hide. "I told him no," she whispered. "I didn't want to go backwards. Not when I'm finally starting to feel safe." When she said safe, she looked directly at me, as if the word belonged to me. That night, she didn't need to ask if there was space in my bed. She simply walked in, lifted the blanket, and slipped beside me. But instead of sleeping right away, she rested her head on my chest and listened to my heartbeat. "Why do you always make room for me?" she asked softly. I hesitated at first, afraid of how honest I was about to be. But she deserved the truth. "Because every time you come closer," I said, "I feel like you're choosing a future you're scared to believe in, and I want you to know you don't have to be scared with me." Her breath shook a little, and then she whispered something I will never forget: "I think I want that future too. I just didn't know if you'd want it with me." My heart stopped. All the moments, all the hints, all the quiet nights where I hoped she'd choose something more with me, they finally made sense. I lifted her chin gently, forcing her to look at me instead of all the fears she carried. "If you want to stay," I said, "I'm not going anywhere." Her eyes softened, finally breaking free from the shadows she lived in. She moved closer, curling into me like she had found the place she'd been searching for all along, and this time, I didn't just hold her, I held the possibility of us. I held the hope she was finally ready to share the next morning. Before I even opened my eyes, I felt her fingers tracing the lines of my hand, slow and thoughtful, like she was trying to memorize what it felt like to belong to someone. When she noticed me waking up, she smiled shyly, something rare for her. "Do you remember what you asked me?" she whispered. About staying forever? I nodded. She took a breath, steady and brave, I think. I'm ready to say yes. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with everything I'd been holding back. I reached for her hand, squeezing it as if to seal the promise she had just made. Her life wasn't suddenly perfect. Mine wasn't either. But that morning, there was something new between us, something stronger than fear, stronger than the past, stronger than all the reasons we once used to keep our distance. There was a future. A real one, and this time, she wasn't asking if there was space left in my bed, she was asking if there was space left in my life, and there always had been, she just finally saw it.